And we're back with our role-playing series. Today we're talking about the Ranger. Welcome to the Attic Dungeon. My name is Sam, and whether you want to brood in the bushes or ambush your enemies, I'm here to help you with everything. As always, thank you for watching. I probably wouldn't be doing this anymore if nobody was watching me. Though I am having a lot of fun doing this, but still, thanks. If you want to support me, click the subscribe button, click the little bell, let's beat the algorithm of YouTube together. Us, David versus Goliath and what have you. Let's get on with today's show, shall we? So yes, today we're talking about how you can roleplay a ranger. And there's two reasons why I do this one now. One, it's been a while since I did a role-playing guide. I always have a lot of fun making those, and I tend to notice that people enjoy them, weirdly enough. Two, I picked a ranger because I don't want to be stuck with the nature classes again at the end, just like I did with my gameplay guide. So whoopsie doopsie, we're trying to avoid that mistake again. So you get the ranger today. As always, I will start with helping you out on how to create a ranger, like the stereotypical ranger as they are described in the player's handbook. And then, the best part, I mix things up and I offer you a few alternatives, I think 4 in this case, on how you can roleplay your ranger so that they don't really fit the stereotype. Of course, we have to determine first what the stereotype is. Oddly enough, for a ranger, the descriptions in the player handbook are incredibly bland. They mention some guy with 2 swords hunting orcs, some elf with a bow shooting a dragon, and some other guy tracking stuff, I think. And that's pretty much it. Even though the ranger is a half magical class, none of the descriptions in the player handbook mention this. They don't emphasize that it's a magical class. They just make them seem like a different type of fighter, which is weird to work with. But rangers usually are those gloom and doom, lone wolf type of characters, and you're going to hear those terms, gloom and doom and lone wolf, a lot today. They live in the wild, usually. They are adept at hunting, tracking, survival, stuff like that. And they don't like being near civilization. And again, even in this very stereotypical description, you don't hear anything magical. It actually baffled me when I was preparing this, how little the magical aspect of a half magic class comes into play in the general descriptions of the class. If I talk about an artificer, the magic and the machinery is right there. If I talk about a paladin, you want to smite all day long. Talk about a ranger, you want to be a gloomy doomy edgelord with a wolf. Maybe a magical wolf if we're nice. But don't worry, I got you covered. So the base ranger, I think this is one of the easiest classes to just glue a well-known character on. They're basically Aragorn from Lord of the Rings when he's Strider. Strider travels around a lot. He safeguards the edges of civilization. He travels into town when necessary, but keeps to the side, and people kind of avoid him because he's one of them weird ranger folk who lives outside of civilization. So Aragorn, Strider, is your typical ranger. Now, for your own character, because we want to avoid everybody being Strider 2.0, there's some easy questions you can ask. Why, for example, do you prefer to stay away from civilization? Do you have some bad experiences? Were you banished? Are you in exile? Were you born outside of civilization and never really warmed up to it? Those are all options. What keeps you in the wilds? What are you doing there? How are you spending your days? Are you spending your days training to become the best to slay a big beast nearby? Are you out there protecting a certain area or people living in the area? That's all very possible, but think about why you're not in civilization but out in the wilds. How often do you, if at all, venture into civilized areas? Do you go to town for supplies? Do you forage everything in the woods? Do you know some people in town maybe? Maybe you live in a cabin a few miles out of town, but on occasion you ride your horse into town and have a chat with a baker because a really friendly guy and he makes the best bread, and that's why you come to town for. I'm just tossing balls up in the air here, trying to juggle them all on how to not just lock you up in the forest as a ranger. As always, you can ask whether you're self-trained or you have a master. Self-trained really fits the ranger archetype of the lone wolf. There we are again. I should merely mark how many times I'm going to use those words. But having a master is also cool. It's always cool. I mentioned that a lot in these series, but that's because a master gives you and your dungeon master nice plot hooks to work with. You are tied into the game world very easily if you have a close contact with an NPC. So a master is always a nice idea. Somebody who taught you how to fight, somebody who taught you how to survive out in the wild. It works. If you're playing the base player handbook ranger, so not the Tasha's revised ranger, you get to pick the favored enemy thing and the favored terrain. The terrain is easy, you grew up there probably. But when picking your favorite enemy, think about why this enemy is your favorite enemy. What did they do to you that you want to hunt them to near extinction? It could be the classic "they killed me mum," but you can also be wild and go larger than "they killed relative or loved one X." Just tossing it out there. I know I'm still in the traditional part, but already I'm throwing out weird ideas because the ranger, the base ranger flavor as presented in the PHB is so bland that I feel the immediate urge to improvise and improve upon it. And then we come to what I've already addressed twice, the magic of a ranger, and the fact that nowhere in 5th edition the ranger is decently described as a magical class when it comes to the base description. So, begs to differ the question, how do you want to present your magic? Every caster gets this question from me, and I think the ranger, just like the artificer, has the most options here. Your magic is nature-based. It literally says in the player handbook, let me check, you draw power from the essence of nature, much like a druid does. So just by spending time in nature, you get nature magic, okay? Here there is a cool way of tying in what your magic looks like into your subclass, and I think the ranger can do this more strongly than, let's say, a wizard does. If you're going for the Beastmaster Ranger, make your magic look beast-like. Your Hunter's Mark is like the hawk of an eye that is glued on one of your enemies. Your Hail of Thorns could be a razor-sharp claw barrage. You get the idea. If you're a Fey Wanderer, all of your magic can have some of that wonderful Fey glimmer around them. That makes it look more otherworldly and more ethereal. Oh, I love me some Fey magic. If you're a Drake Warden, you can... Well, you get the idea there. So what about the Hunter then, Sam? He doesn't have any strong magic ties. No, that's true. So either you're just playing as generic nature magic, or you go the Hawkeye route. He's not really casting magic. Wink. Of course, mechanically they are, but you make it look like a bag of tricks. You have trick arrows, you have very fancy traps in your pockets, you have healing salves on you, and obviously they don't run out, they're just based on your spell slots. So when your spell slots are gone, you have no more supplies for that day, and in the morning, instead of prepping spells, well, they don't prep spells, they know spells, but instead of regaining your spell slots, you quickly craft your components for the day. You see, that's a nice way to kind of avoid the awkwardly placed magic in 5e on the ranger. I mean, it's not awkwardly placed, the ranger always has had some magic vibe, but they downplay it so hard in the flavor here that I want to offer you a way of downplaying it even further and just playing Hawkeye, which is cool. Everybody loves Hawkeye. Something. Oh yeah, I was looking for what else to tell, but that's basically it. That's your base ranger. You're in nature. Why? Magic, yay or nay, and what does it look like, and how sociable are you? Those are the big three questions for the ranger. So now that we've dabbled into that bland batch of doom and gloom, let's do what I'm best at and mix it up. As always, I try to either enlarge a certain already existing class aspect, or I completely destroy one and do something opposite. In this first one, I'm going to do both, yes. So I just told you that the druid gets his magic from the essence of nature, much like a druid does. So let's enlarge this druidic aspect, and let's imagine that your ranger is actually part of a druidic circle. But instead of taking the traditional caster training, let's say, that a druid does, they're part of a more militant branch of this circle. They are rangers who fight at the front line while some of the druids are magicking in the back, or they shoot in the back while some of the bear druids are clawing in the front. You get the idea. Druids are flexible, rangers are flexible. You're both nature-based, your magic is druid-based. It fits really well. Okay, Sam, you're enlarging the druidic aspect. You want me to become even more nature-like? Yes, I want you to have tie-ins to a place. Maybe there's a sacred grove you're protecting, or a certain nature spirit you chaps are venerating and aiding with its goals. But what this also does is destroy the lone wolf aspect of your ranger, because you have a circle that you're part of. You have brethren and sisters that you rely on, that you trust. A lot of rangers have trust issues. Didn't say lone wolf, but here we are. So I destroyed the lone wolf aspect of your ranger completely by giving them a circle of trustees. Of course, druids can be a bit more on their own as well, but really tying into the circle aspect as an organization gives your ranger social something. It gives them people to care about. It gives them an organization that you can tie into for whatever story hook you might need. And you might even have like codes or rules that you need to follow as part of your circle. You get like a moral compass, because some rangers seem to lack that as well. They're always very utility based, like, no, this is what we need and we're going to do this. I've rarely seen a ranger being played, I have a moral code and it compels me to do this and not that. Personally, and I'm certainly not trying to make a nice tie-in to any of my other videos here, I think this one goes great with my wisdom-based martial ranger that I did a while back. You know, the build up picked up a few druid cantrips thanks to the new fighting style, and then wades into battle with shillelagh as their main way of attacking. It makes you feel a lot more druidy already, so it's a nice step in the right direction if you want to enlarge the druid aspect of your ranger. Make them more mystical, more mysterious, more elusive, and less angry grump in the inn. So that works. Next up, we have a simple one, actually. It's a very simple one. The ranger as a bounty hunter. And you'd say, yeah, I've done this before. Yes, but not a bounty hunter in the wild. We're going to do the urban bounty hunter. We're taking away the nature part of the ranger. This time, you can keep your lone wolf aspect of your character, but replacing them in an urban environment. And the basic game remains the same. You're still tracking people, you're trying to survive, you're hunting prey. That is all the same, but as a bounty hunter. Even your animal, if you are a beastmaster, you can still have an animal, but let it be a very city-based animal. So instead of a wolf, you'll have a mastiff, stuff like that. So yes, take away the nature aspect. You still have all the base features of a ranger. You're very savvy about your prey. You're very aware of your surroundings. You just don't hide in the trees. You hide on buildings. And this is actually a really good way to play your ranger in urban settings, or in planes like Ravnica, you know, the Magic book, the Magic the Gathering Relays book that came out like, I don't know, 5 years ago, where the entire plane is basically one large city, except for very few rare pieces of nature. So this way you can actually play a ranger in a large city without feeling out of place the entire time. Now these last two ranger ideas are going to try to take away the serious gloom and doom factor of your ranger. The first one is the scholar. It's actually pretty simple. Again, ranger is such a simple class to work around. Must be because the base stuff is quite bland. You're a person who's trying to create their life's work. You're trying to write a book about a certain topic, something that is way out in the wild, some ancient ruins, a type of monster, you know, something wild and unexplored, but you know that to write about it you will have to experience it firsthand. So you took some basic weapons training, you picked up a few magic spells here and there, and you prepared for the journey. So you actually exit civilization willingly to go and find your greater goal. This of course implies that you know how to behave, that you're not necessarily an asshole. You might be a bit socially awkward because you're a book nerd, but hey, they all manage to survive out there just fine. So these guys won't be as gloom and doom as most rangers are. I still think that is the hardest stereotype to shake off as the ranger, because it seems to be everywhere. Oh yeah, gloom and doom, check out. Said it twice, yay. So this could be your character's first big out in the wild, and they are quite knowledgeable, they read about it, they know how to recognize certain things, certain behaviors, but it's their first real trip into the big beyond this. No, that's not, they're not dead yet. The great outdoors, that's what I was looking for. It's their first big trip into the great outdoors, which is peculiar because most rangers are already hardened in the way of the woods. But these guys, this scholar has just done all the prep work and is now ready to exit through the city gate, looking for the ancient ruins of Fluptiflup to write their life's work about. So they are studious, committed, a bit curious, but still capable in combat because they had the training. And then the last one, I tried to get away from the angry ranger as much as I could, and I simply called the idea the amateur. So you're not necessarily a ranger who's been living in the woods, you're just somebody who lives next to the woods, next to the swamp, next to the whatever terrain you want your ranger to be in. And they just kind of get drawn into conflict because something happens in their region. And they're not incapable, they know how to shoot a bow or chop with a sword because they need it for their base survival in their relatively dangerous nature area. But they're not the hardened protector of the wild. They are not the bounty hunter who murders orcs. They're just, I don't know, Johnny the farmer, who's a really upright, upbeat, friendly kind of guy. Imagine a halfling ranger. It's hard to play a halfling ranger like, I'm angry at everything, because you're about wee high. Nothing can be angry when they're that high. If you want to, because then you might be asking, okay, where does he get his magic? But clearly he hasn't been living in nature his entire life. No, you could introduce like a friendly companion. Maybe they are befriended with a nature spirit from the woods that they live next to, and this is the reason they can cast. This nature spirit lives with them, lives in them, whatever. Make for a fun little role-playing gimmick, and they infuse you with magic. Or if you want to, they become your Beastmaster companion. They transform into this huge bunny that actually is quite ferocious in battle. But other than that, is a cutest fluffball out there. And, well, imagine a halfling ranger with a very large bunny and he can never be angry ever again. If you're the Drake Warden, he becomes your dragon, obviously. If you are a Fey Warden, they are this little fairy that lives with you. If you are, what's it called? Is it the Gloomstalker that like switches between planes? They can be an otherworldly entity that will draw you into the mysteries of the other realms. You know, just this happy little companion that helps your already happy little man be a happy little ranger. And there we are. I've managed to exterminate the gloom and doom and lone wolf of as many ranger types as possible, and that is enough for today, ladies and gentlemen. I'm happy that I got this off my chest. I'm happy that I managed to rework the ranger into not playing the same character over and over again. I'm not saying they are, obviously I've seen rangers that are not just angry at everything, but they pop up regularly and I don't like them. There we are, that's it. That is all I wanted to talk to you about. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this might entice you to play a ranger. Actually, if I would play a ranger, I would be the halfling with the giant rabbit, probably. And if all goes well, my dear people, I see you again in 2 weeks in the Attic Dungeon.